What's up, YouTube? Anyway, let's get into it. The breath debt. Let's understand that there's a universal heartbeat or breath that we can tap into that's timeless. Our timeless self reminds us of this breath throughout synchronicities in our life. So we run into these synchronicities, whether they be numbers or whatever you use to monitor the pulse of the universe in your own life. Most people just relate it to numbers because it's easy and it's like makes you feel cool and stuff. So when it comes to that, you're getting involved with the pulse of the universe. So that's the universal breath that we should be taking, so life can flow through us, so knowledge can flow through us, and so we can flow outwardly too. So when we're in debt to this breath, when we're holding our breath, again, like I said in that, in the smoker's challenge, you're basically, when you hold your breath, whether to smoke or for whatever reason to eat, whenever you're missing these universal breaths, you go into a debt. You go into basically you're just in a high strung debt situation where you have to breathe it out. You have to vent. You have to let life flow through you so that you can pay off your debt. Pretty much, you have to get back to, you're pretty much eating tomorrow's food, smoking for tomorrow, because everything is done in excess. If it's all in excess, you're pretty much days ahead in indulgence. And every breath is an investment. You have to look at every breath as an investment. So every time you inhale the ether or this breath energy, every time you inhale these elements, that's predominantly our food. We're constantly breathing. So that's predominantly the food. As far as the food pyramid, that's the base of everyone's diet. Breath, air, ether, whatever you want to call it, melanin, dark matter, carbon, dark energy, whatever, however you want to identify this thing that we're inhaling, and it is energy, and it is brain food. So pretty much, you're in a situation where you're ahead as far as indulgence, so you're behind on the breath, and that's where the debt of the world is even coming from. This unconscious debt that everyone is supposed to be paying into, all these things that we get detached from as far as debt is concerned to get what we want now. And we're giving energy that we don't have for these things that we want in this now, supposed now. So that it just kicks the can. It's just there's no difference in the monetary system, this fiat currency, and the breath system. It's all coming from the breath, the backup of breath, and not letting life flow through us, the creative process. So the more we are ourselves, the more we're in tune with the universal breath. The more we are ourselves, the less we try in life. That means the more we create, the more we give. So then we pay it forward. Then we create, basically you give more to the overall credit of life or the universe itself. You're giving more, because now it's just pretty much a black cancer of debt that we have to breathe off because we're behind on breathing. So as we become ourselves more and more every day, as we incarnate more every day, we add to the greater pool of credit when we catch up on the breath. This allows us to give. This gives us the credit to even give in a circumstance. If you don't have the breath, if you're behind on breath, you just won't have the temperament to even deal with certain things. You'll be flustered, all that, because you're behind on breath. So you can't even give the way you would. So anybody that feels like sad about they feel like they owe someone. No one owes you anything. You don't owe anything anybody but to breathe and to give, be yourself. So once you do that, it'll all set. Everything will begin to set itself right, or left and right, balanced. Everything will begin to be balanced once you become yourself more. Then you give to the credit of life. Then you're just constantly giving. So, and then people always worry about mistakes in these things. Like, I feel like with mistakes, you afford mistakes. Anybody that's went through a mistake and isn't dead, they could afford it. So a mistake is kind of a luxury if you're still breathing. So if you can still breathe, you can make anything manifest, really. Because again, you tap into the abundance of the breath. And, knowing that's just timelessness. Then you get into your timelessness and your personal timelessness, your heart's timelessness, and you can tap into all those talents. And from there, you just exchange talents for other things, other experiences. That's really all we're doing, exchanging energy and talents for things that we desire, or we think we want. So you do what you can now, when you can, for who you can. And, that's why when you're behind on the breath and you see things that you want, or other people doing things that you want to do, it's, you gotta really kind of put the blinders on. You got to get back into your breath. before you can even think about looking outside of yourself. The reason you're probably even looking outside of yourself is because you're behind on the breath. So if you do what you can when you can, then your intensity won't be misplaced, because then you're like, I'm so focused on trying to get this done in the future. I want to get this done in the future. So your intensity is all misplaced, and then there's no such thing. Once you get to a point where you let, big things pass you by in life, there's no such thing as small things in life. So that's where the intensity is being misplaced further. Now you're behind on the breath. You're in traffic. You're in traffic because you're at a job that you hate because you let something pass you by. So now, again, you got the subconscious understanding that it all starts at a minute level. So when someone cuts you off, or when little things happen, now you're behind on the breath. You're not being yourself. The more breaths per minute you take, the more you are in your body, and the less you are being yourself. So you could look at it like, if your heart or soul is being battled for from the lower self and the true self, then you just gotta. That's how you just really look at that. Look at it like that. If you can understand it like that. If you're in a lower breath, if you're in a lower breath per minute, you'll be more relaxed. You'll be more yourself. If you're higher breath per minute, more in your body. That's why when you're running and all that, your breath gets heavy and all that. You go in the gym. That's why it's a meat festival in there. It's basically people. You already know what it is. You already know what it is in the gym, because everybody's low. Their breath is their heart rate is going up. Their breath is going up. They're more in their body. So the less breaths per minute, the more you are yourself. So you just got to know the difference and distinguish the difference. So you can have your intensity. It won't be misplaced. Your intensity will be, that just focus on the next breath, and that'll create the next step. So it just comes down to reminding yourself. And when comes to reminding, it's just about knowing where things emanate from. Reminding self. In your mind. Your mind is this thing that you can tap into, this Rolodex of experience, and everything. It's just pretty much it is this a Rolodex of experience and information. So if you know where everything comes from, go back into the mental Rolodex. I know that this thought emanated from myself. I can trust myself. I know this thought emanated from my body. I know how my body is because I know my zodiac. I know my chemistry. I know, when I'm letting the body run the show, I know that, and I know what's coming from my heart now because I can distinguish body from self. So now I know what's coming from this personal soul, or Tefereth, or heart, whatever you want to call this. So then, your heart center as far as creativity, that's your personal flavor of creativity. It's personal self-expression. And it just really knows where things emanate from. So a thought that comes from the heart is a thought of pretty much pure. It's from that. If it's coming from the body, it's from that. If it's coming from the self, it's from the higher self, detached from emotion, thought that is totally void of that is the non-material, the immaterial. So anything coming from that is something that's non-biased. So you just know where things emanate from, and then you can remind yourself what's what.